Hey everybody, welcome to this quick video where we are going to show you how to make custom extension cables for the Corsair RGB system that you configure with Corsair Link. So this is the RGB system that's used for Corsair's RGB fans as well as their RGB strips. So before we get started, a couple of things that we have. So you'll notice right here we have a fan hub, RGB fan hub, and we also have a Corsair Lighting Node Pro. This Lighting Node Pro is connected to my laptop with a standard mini USB to USB-A cable. If you look, the connection here is just a standard old school mini USB connection. So there's really nothing special about it. You can use any cable, plug it into your laptop. You install Link and Link will actually pick up the device. This is a standard RGB fan hub. This comes in the multi-packs of the RGB fans. Again, pretty easy to come by. We've got the connector between the two, so we'll actually be using this to test the extension cables when we're done. These are actually connected to a power supply that I had on hand for actually connecting hard drives. And so this is actually using a Molex to SATA adapter to power both the fan hub and the Lighting Node Pro. That actually works for these devices because they only use the 5-volt rail, whereas the Commander Pro will use the 3.3 volt rail, so that's typically not recommended. We also have two LL120s that we will use to make sure everything lights up and everything works correctly when we're done. Now, what we're going to do today is we're going to take a ASUS, or actually it's an RGB 5050 extension cable. So we got this little extension cable here, and we're going to cut this thing apart and we're going to add some ends to it, and we're going to add the right connectors so that we can actually use this as an extension cable to extend the RGB wires. Back in the day when I got my Z270 motherboard, it had ASUS RGB sync. I did all up the ASUS lights, and they were okay for a little while. Then I got into the Corsair RGB system with the addressable RGB lights and the fans and how much richer they are, and so all of these cables are now pretty much useless. So we're going to take this cable and we're actually going to turn it into one of these, right? So you'll see that I've already done this before, and it's really not that difficult once you understand what's going on. So there's a couple of things that we need to get started. So of course we need some wire cutters and strippers. So these are precision strippers because we've got 24 grade wire. So we need the precision strippers. We have a crimping tool. So this is a crimping tool. You can find these on Amazon. They're not that expensive, but they're a specialized crimping tool for the connectors, the Molex connectors that we're going to use for this. And then of course we've got standard wire cutters. We use this to cut the cable and strip the outer sheath off. The most important part, the parts. So we've got one connector and then another connector. So one's female, one's male. So this is the female connector, this is the male connector. They plug right in here, right? So we see, of course, that works. We can take these, we can plug them into the fan hub, right? We can see it plugs right into the fan hub. And of course, it's just as difficult to get out as the Corsair fans. And then here's the fan. We can see that this plugs right in here as well, right? Makes a good connection. So that's all good. So we got the right parts there. That's excellent. The part numbers for these and the links will be included in the video description. We've also got the actual connectors. So these are what we're actually going to be crimping. So you can see this is the male connector. And then we also have the female connector. So you could probably crimp these guys with, say, a set of pliers or something. But we're actually going to use the proper crimping tool to get it done correctly. So let's go ahead and get started. We've got our 5050 cable here, It's got naturally the exact wrong connection. We're going to take this guy and then we're going to take the ends off and we're going to re-crimp them. So very simple. First, of course, we don't need these ends anymore, so we're just going to snip them off. And we're going to snip them off as close as we can, so that way we get as much cable as we can. Now you can use, you don't have to use these cables really, you just need any 3 or 4 or even 2 line. But for the full fans you need 4. If you're going to do an extension cable for the RGB strips, you're going to need 3. If you want to make your own cable or make an extension cable for the Lighting Node Pro, Commander Pro to the fan hub connection, you actually need 2 lines. And those 2 lines are going to be pin 2 and pin 3. You're not going to do pin 1, which is actually the power line. That doesn't need to be there. So we go ahead, we've got this, we've taken the ends off. And now the next thing we need to do is strip off a little bit of the end of that. There we go. So we've got four wires exposed. Right, so that's good. So we'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay, and we're looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. So you'll see we've got 4 on each side. Black, red, blue, and green. Black, red, blue, and green. And then we're going to take and we're going to strip just a little bit off the ends. You really don't need a whole lot, but just a little bit off the ends. There we go. Right. And that really is maybe just a hair more than that. You really don't need very much to make a good connection. Alright, and then we'll go ahead and we'll strip all of these off right now. Alright, so there we go. We've got both ends stripped. Let's get this out of the way. We don't need that mess. Okay. So as you can see, we've got both ends stripped and we're ready to go. So let's go ahead and we're going to take our crimping tool, right? And we're going to, let's start with the female side. Now there's plenty of videos on YouTube on how to work with these things, but essentially we get the crimp in place, right, and then we take the wire, let's get it nice and straight. We stick it in there just a bit. You want to make sure that the insulation actually goes and is covered by the crimp. Alright, so this in there. A bit further. Go ahead and finish our crimp. There we go. We've got one crimped. All right, and then we'll just go ahead and do the rest of them. And you can see we've got a little bit of the insulation in there. You can see that there's a good connection with the wire in there. I don't know how well you can actually see that, but it looks pretty good to me. So let's go ahead and just finish the rest of these up. Now, one thing you do want to do is try and make sure that when you put these on, they're lined up so that you don't have to twist the wires a little bit. And I kind of forgot to do that with this second one, right? Because these are all going to go in the same way, so you don't want to have to. It's a little difficult if you have to twist them when you're pushing them in, right? So you kind of want to make sure that they're aligned with each other. You can see these little latches that they have on there. They have little latches, and those latches actually lock into place in the adapter. Okay, so we've got all 4 of the females connected. The male side, I mean, they look different, right? But the connection and the crimping point really is the same, right? They've just got these long pointy things that actually slide right in like that and provide a good tight connection. So we're going to do the same with these. Okay, so now we've got both ends crimped. We're done with our crimping tool. We don't need it anymore. We're actually done with most of our tools, in fact. We may need some needle nose pliers, but probably not. What we do need to do now, though, is put the ends on. So with the ends, this particular piece will go with the open hole female connectors, and this particular piece will go with the longer male connectors. And what you're going to want to do is line them up. So if you look, you've got the clips. The clips will actually go into these holes on the connector, and you're going to want to put them in through the back here. And just make sure that the clips are lined up with the holes that they go into. Now, if you look on these, you will have one arrow on here. That is for pin 1. On the Corsair system, that pin 1 is actually the 5-volt power. Pin 4, at least for the fans, pin 4 is ground. So I like to do the 5-volt power pin 1 as red, the pin 4 as black. It's really not necessary as long as they all match up, but you know, it's kind of customary that red is for power and black is for ground. So we get these lined up, and then we take it and make sure that we place them in. Don't push them in all the way one at a time. Get all 4 of them lined up and kind of going in the right direction and going the right way, because it's just going to be easier that way. So get all 4 of them done, lined up, in place. Let's see, one of these guys keeps twisting on me. Right, this way you got them, but they're not too far in. You still got some play. You haven't committed to it yet, and it's giving me just a little bit of headache. No big deal. Just a little bit of patience required. See, and this is what I meant. I didn't quite, I think, get them oriented in the same direction, or this would be easier. I've got to make sure that I twist a couple of these guys. So there we go. I think I got them all in, and then you just slide them in. And you'll feel them snap, you'll hear them snap, and you just keep pushing them until they're all the way in. Right, and they will snap into place. Right, and so you can see we've got them pretty much all the way in. There we go. That's got it. So they're all in. They're all snapped in place. They're all secure. Excellent. Right. So now we have one end of it. That one's done. So easy peasy. Now what I like to do, and this really just helps me match them up, right? Is I'll put the other end on, and so this way I can be sure that I match them up when I put them in, because all you need to do is make sure that red goes to red, black goes to black, green goes to green, blue goes to blue, right? So we'll go ahead and get these guys lined up and get them started. blue, and black. And just like with the other end, they need to all be in the same way. The clips need to be up, and it looks like they all are. Now, these are a bit more challenging to get in. Unplug that. All right, double check, make sure I've got everything set correctly. I do. And then difficult thing is sometimes getting these guys to find the little hole that they need to go through, but it's not too bad. They usually go in pretty easily. There we go. We've got all of them in place now, and just like on the other end, you just keep pushing them in until they snap. There are tools that you can use to push them in, and that'll kind of push, but you really don't need them. Right? So we take it, we look at it, and you notice that we can snap them in place, and we're good. Okay, so now we have our cable. We've got both ends plugged in, and we're ready to test. So we've got our Lighting Node Pro here. Again, it's connected via USB-A. We've got our fan hub. And so we're going to go ahead, we're going to take one of our fans. First, let's make sure both of them work and work correctly. So I will put these in 1 and 2, and there actually is a reason why I'm testing with 2 of them. All right, so let's go ahead. We've got both fans here. Let me set them up in Link over here real quick. 1, 2. Make sure they light up, and they do in the obnoxious rainbow. All right, so if you're familiar with the Corsair fans, you know that they work in a series. Fan 1 is bad, then fan 2, fan 3, fan 4 won't work. So they're kind of like Christmas lights. So that's why we make sure that we test with 2 of these. And so let me go ahead and actually set these to maybe static. Let's do this like a red or something. All right, and we'll do both of these as a static red. Okay, and apply. Alright, so maybe that isn't quite so obnoxious. Oh, they're slightly different reds. Okay, excellent. So let's go ahead and we're going to take our extension cable that we just made. We've got a whole bunch of cables going on, right? And we're going to unplug number 1, which when we do that, number 2 stays on with the last setting. Right, so here we go, and the moment of truth. Let's go ahead and plug this in, and boom, lights right up. Number 2 is still lit up. Let's actually go ahead and change number 2. That way we make sure that changes to that are actually getting through, right? So I went ahead and changed that to blue. We can see that everything is lit up correctly. We see all the lights are lit up correctly. So we have a good extension cable right here. To add probably maybe about another 10 inches or so of length to the RGB cords. So that's really all there is to it. They're not that hard to make. You can make these, with 4-pin cables that you have laying around. You can also go ahead and you can get different types of cables that are available either from DIY. Or DigiKey. So for example, I've got these flat ribbon cables. This is a 3-wire flat ribbon cable. We have a 2-wire flat ribbon cable, so this would be used for like the connection between the fan hub and the Lighting Node Pro. Got a 4-wire flat ribbon cable, right? Or you can do what I did. You can take, extra Asus Aura Link Sync cables that you have laying around that you're not using anymore, because once you've gotten into the Corsair RGB system, stuff like Aura Sync is really kind of lame. You can even get super crazy if you want and do things like take Cat 5 cable, right? So Cat 5 cable is twisted pair. It's got a total of 8 wires, and they're again 24 gauge wire, right? So it's got 4 pairs for a total of 8, and you can do these double extension cables, right? So you've actually got 2 cables here that essentially have a sheath around them, and it's a good use for, in this case, this is Cat 5e. So Cat 5e cable, but you could use any Cat 5. It's not going to matter, right? Because we're not talking about gigabit speeds here. So there you go. That's it. That's all you need to do. That's all that's involved. Pretty simple once you understand the different parts that you need, which will be listed in the description for this video. Thanks for joining me, and have fun. If you have any questions, if you have any challenges, feel free to post something on the Corsair forum. There will also be a link to a forum post that goes through all the different pieces that you need, and what their different Molex numbers are. Will be included in the comments for this video. So thanks for watching, and have a great day.